Hi, this is Phil Shapiro in Tacoma Park, Maryland. I finished reading a totally fascinating book, Unlocking Potential, Organizing a School Within a Prison by Hildebrand Pelzer III, who is an award-winning educator in the Philadelphia area. This is a short book, about 90 pages, and you could read the whole book in a single sitting. It's a book filled with powerful ideas about learning, education, the criminal justice system, human potential, and it's written as an autobiography, but I found that it's so much more than an autobiography. I found it very engaging and thought-provoking. So let's take a look at the book. I've pulled out some of the most interesting quotes that I could find, although it was difficult for me to pull out quotes because almost every single page had quotable material. Here's the author, Hildebrand Pelzer III. This is from the back cover of the book. And it says, throughout the United States, especially in the poor neighborhoods of large cities, too many public schools are failing to reach, teach, and engage thousands of struggling youth. Poor educational background, reluctance to be in the school environment, and socioeconomic pressures lead to failure in the school environment. As a result of these failures, thousands of school-age youth are sent down the path to the school-to-prison pipeline. In the book, the Philadelphia prison system provides the backdrop. This is just a hint of what sets Unlocking Potential, Organizing a School Inside a Prison, apart from other books in the genre. Speaking of other books in the genre, I totally recommend the book titled Liberating Minds about teaching college in prison. I recently read that book and I commend it to everybody. Continuing here, it is about Pelzer's invaluable perspective on urban education as much, if not more than, about underscoring how education can and should play a prominent role in all institutions that are responsible for children. Here's a short little bio about the author. Hildebrand Pelzer III is an award-winning educator. For decades, he has successfully managed diverse urban schools with difficult environments, including a high school inside a prison. He has earned a national reputation for expanding opportunities within challenging educational environments to make way for a better future. This is from the foreword of the book by Carolyn E. Page, who is the assistant principal at this school within a prison and who has worked with the author for many years. Even though I had worked with students from many backgrounds, it wasn't until I went to work with Principal Hildebrand Pelzer III at the Pennypack House School in the Philadelphia prison system that I became acutely aware of how many truly bright young men with inadequate educations were incarcerated. Pennypack is a public high school in the school district of Philadelphia, located within the Philadelphia prison system. She goes on in the foreword. Correctional education benefits society and provides solutions for improving student achievement in challenging learning environments. It also helps to quell unrest behind bars, leading to a safer environment for both the incarcerated and the staff. Now, isn't that a universally desirable goal, to have a safer environment for both the incarcerated and the staff? Now, this quote over here is from the author in explaining the purpose of the book. My purpose in writing it are to examine public education from an angle that is underrepresented in national debates, and to present my own approach based on successful programs for educating incarcerated school-age youth in the Philadelphia prison system, to confronting the legal, logistical, and educational dilemmas that have thwarted such programs. Outlined in this book are strategies that educators and correction professionals working with incarcerated youth can use to review their educational practices, examine their assumptions about the capacities and capabilities of schools in prison, plan action to overcome legal, logistical, and educational dilemmas, and raise educational dialogue to the level that such work merits. Now, this quote here is representative of the clarity of the thinking in this book. I found it such a powerful paragraph. Attaining an education is the single most important resource that enables a person to prosper in society, create and take advantage of life's opportunities, and develop and strengthen the skills and strategies necessary to sustain a high-performing life. Society has a responsibility to guide youth toward educational attainment and to assist them in avoiding pitfalls that could cause their destruction. If we don't accept this challenge, many youth are left with far too little education to sustain them, shut out of the mainstream and lacking the education to compete for employment or college opportunities. They seek thrills in criminal behavior, bolstered by immaturity, friendship of others like themselves, and heartbreaking dead-end decisions. Here's another quote from the book. The key is the desire to deliver instruction to other people's children with the same veracity, intensity, and desire for success that one would offer one's own children. This paragraph here is very powerful. The instructional core in public schools should not be subjected to political whim or educational fashion. Instead, the core should be imploded with the aim of destroying outdated practices and rebuilding public education. The rebuilding process should include innovations to address all aspects of the school community that contribute to student achievement. That's worth reading a few times over and also thinking about a lot. Now, one of the things that I found quite interesting in this book is some parallels between the work that's being done by Hildebrand Peltzer and Associates and some other work that's rather hopeful over in the Penn Manor School District in Lancaster, PA. So over there, they have found new ways of challenging students to do service learning with technology, where the students are maintaining their Linux open source laptops within a high school. And I wanted to show you this little clip here and let you think about some of the parallels in how when you change some of your assumptions, you open up doorways of opportunities for students, and that the goal of all education is to find students' strengths and amplify those strengths. Don't find their weaknesses and amplify their weaknesses. Find their strengths and amplify the strengths. So over here, this is from a YouTube video, and I'm just going to play a little bit of it here that you can see. And if you're interested in this, you should look at the TED Talk by Charlie Reisinger, R-E-I-S-I-N-G-E-R, Charlie Reisinger, who is the technology director of the Penn Manor School District. So here's a little clip. You can also meet Charlie right here.
This is one of those defining moments in my entire career. Just working with the initial group of students that were part of our one-to-one help desk. Here's an example. Ben is one of 4 core students that formed really the nucleus of the initial one-to-one help desk.
My name is Benjamin Luan Thomas. I graduated in the 2014 year.
He was a kid that didn't really like school. We would go into parent-teacher conferences and feel deflated at the end of them because they just didn't see Ben for what we saw at home.
Or in my freshman year, I didn't really have too much of a focus. I was kind of just like, all right, I gotta wake up, go to school.
He got an IEP, I think in 2nd grade, for a learning disability, and then later he was diagnosed with ADD.
I remember sitting in an IEP conference with a guidance counselor in 9th grade for Ben, and her saying that, you know, Ben's not going to be going to college, and we shouldn't plan on that. We shouldn't focus on that, and that really was hard.
So your sophomore year, you created the application?
Sophomore year, we created the application. Junior year, we did the showcase, and then that's summer is when we started working on the applications that we would use in the student help desk. We kind of set up the building blocks that most of the students today follow.
At the end of that year, we were at an IEP meeting with him, and they were helping him plan out his next year classes, and all of a sudden they wanted him to be in college placement classes.
My college professors definitely see that I'm a little bit ahead of the curve. The other students hadn't really had too much coding experience. They weren't really exposed to open source.
I mean, this was just an opportunity for him to showcase his talents. He didn't have that opportunity before.
I would not be where I am today without the one-to-one program.
So there you have it. A very talented high school student where the school had missed his talent until the school district had set up a service learning project where his talent with technology was put to use, and it let him flourish. So education is the creation of situations where learners can flourish, and anything else is not education. I would like to mention also a little bit from page 12 of this book, Unlocking Potential by Hildebrand Pelzer. He quotes from a Bill Gates, the Gates Foundation study, that there's 14 urban school districts in the United States where the graduation rate is lower than 50%. Those cities are Detroit, Baltimore, New York City, Milwaukee, Cleveland, Los Angeles, Miami, Dallas, Denver, Houston, and DC. The graduation rate from high school is lower than 50%. And out of those 14, 3 of those cities have a graduation rate that's lower than 40%. So we need to be imploding education in the best sense of that word and rebuilding it according to better ways of thinking about how learners learn. And this book, Unlocking Potential, really is a signpost, a guiding light towards where we need to be going. So I'd like to thank the author for writing this book. And the book is highly recommended for purchase by public libraries, high school libraries, college libraries, prison libraries. And please tell people you know about this book. You need to tell people like school teachers, school principals, superintendents, school counselors, social workers, people who work in the corrections field, even people who work in hospitals. They sadly get to see what happens when we have dysfunctions in our society that result in violence. And so people who work in hospitals, they are part of our team to build a better society that has more inclusive. It's more inclusive, more hope. So thank you, Hildebrand Pelzer, for writing this totally outstanding book. I can't wait to see what you write next, because whatever you write is bound to be very interesting and can point us in the direction of where we need to be going. So I'll see everybody next time. I should just end here by saying, if you're interested in my book reviews, here's where I've collected them: sites.google.com, site/Phil Shapiro book reviews. I made the screencast using some free software called Simple Screen Recorder. I use a Linux laptop, a Lenovo 10T 410. It's almost 10 years old. And you could be making your own screencasts like this if you wanted to. You should check to see if there's a Linux user group in your town. And if there isn't, maybe you should help start one. Maybe your public library should be teaching screencasting. Here's how to contact me. Phil Shapiro, pshapiro@his.com. I have my Twitter there, Phil Shapiro, and I have a YouTube channel. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel if you're interested. You can support my book reviews if you want. I have a patreon.com account. You can make small contributions if you like, as low as like $2 a month. And this is what my Patreon website looks like. I love to support other people who have Patreon accounts. Sometime Google and YouTube will figure out that how much they have shortchanged content producers, And the Patreon website, invented by Jack Conte and others, is providing a real tool to compensate both video producers, but to fill in a hole for what YouTube and Google ought to be doing. I hope they think seriously about how content producers really are bringing them wealth, and maybe they ought to be thinking about better ways of sharing that wealth. Until next time, this is Phil Shapiro.